Looks like our profile is coming along pretty well. In this lesson, I'd like to explore some tags that have been around since the beginning of HTML. One's called the horizontal rule, which is still commonly used to break up sections of a website. And the other is the two types of lists. Whenever you have something that either needs to go in order or you're just putting one thing after another that are in the same sort of content, you use a list. Let's start with the horizontal rule. I think after these images, I'd like to break up my web page by just putting a dividing line in. So that tag is called HR, and you don't need a closing tag there. And basically that's all you do. You save it, you look at it, and you should see a nice little horizontal line. You can see it hopefully right there at the bottom of the screen. Okay. Let's add a little more content now. I think I want to, first of all, list my superpowers. So I'm going to put a smaller heading in than the main heading, my profile. So the next smallest, as you remember, is the H2, and I'll call this my superpowers. And let me just list them. So let's say I have anti-gravity is one, see in the dark. How about faster than the speed of light? Okay, you've probably learned by now that if I was to save it and look at it, these are just all going to run together. I think it loaded. Let's see, let's try that again. Yeah. One way you know that we can do that is to just put in either a line break or the paragraph tag. And I think I'd like a little space between them like they were actually paragraphs. So I'm going to put in that paragraph tag. It's not really necessary to put the closing. Whoops, that was not good. Control C, as you know, is redo the mistake that you did before. I'm just trying to cut this one out. And then I'll copy this so I can put the same amount of space in between each of those. Okay, so if I save it now, that's one way of listing things. Just putting a little extra space in between each line. But there's another way, and this actually highlights it as a list, and you'll see why. There's actually two ways that do that. And the first is what we call the unordered list, where we really don't care what order it comes in. So let's say, I want to list my top 3 foods, but I'm not really caring what order it's in. So what I'll do is first I'm going to put a heading in for this section. Of course, every time you put a heading in, that's going to automatically open up enough space so you don't have to put any extra paragraph tags or anything else in. So I'm going to call this My Favorite Foods. And let me just list about 3 of them. Let's see, I just ate some strawberries and ice cream, and I just like ice cream of any kind, really don't care. Chocolate. Same there. And as you know right now, this is just going to run into each other. And we could put some paragraph tags in here, but there's a special element that allows us to make a list out of these without doing that, and that's called the UL, or unordered list. And it just automatically gives me the closing tag, which in this case is really important, because if I don't have the closing tag in there, it just thinks I'm going to make a list forever. Now, if I was to save this and look at it, nothing's really changed. And the problem is that the browser doesn't know where each item of the list is. So we actually have to put another tag in here called the list item, or LI. Oops, still want to mess up. Okay. Now that's going to give me a closing tag too. And in the case of list items, the closing tag isn't really necessary. Because basically you're just saying, okay, here's a list item, here's a list item, here's a list item. So what we'll do is we'll just copy and paste these list items in here. It's giving you that color because actually chocolate is a web color. We'll learn about that when we learn about CSS. And my browser happens to pick that up when I use it. But anyway, I'm going to reload this and see what happens. And there you go. It gives you a bulleted list. When we learn about CSS, we can change the look of those bullets or do other things. But for now, that's enough for me. Another kind of list that we're going to do is called the ordered list. Now sometimes it's important the order that things are in, of course, like if you win a race, who came in first, who came in second, who came in third. So in that case, we have a different kind of list, and of course, you could probably guess, instead of UL for unordered, it's OL for ordered. And I'll get this in place for what we're going to do. And let's do, before I do that, let's do my top 3 websites. I'm always on. So I'm going to put another heading of the same size, H211, I should say of the same importance, which is my top 3 websites. Okay, and then inside here, well, I'm always on Google. And then I do spend a lot of time on Amazon too. And let's put Netflix in. Okay. Now, looking at this list and looking at that, you can probably predict what's going to happen when I save this file and display it. There's going to be no separation of the items because I haven't put that tag in there that allows me to separate those items. So I'm going to do that now. So get rid of this error, which is continually popping up. I don't know how to shut it off, or if it can be shut off. Alright, so again, because the closing tag is not essential on this particular element, I'm just going to copy and paste them in. And when I save it, it didn't even wait for me to reload it. Okay, so there you go, 1, 2, 3. So it's actually in order. I'm going to do this offline, but the next thing I should do is probably make hyperlinks to these sites, which I will do.